Hello everyone. Welcome back. Today I want to talk a little bit about why it's so hard to change, like why we're hanging on to things that are not helping us anymore, aren't good for us anymore. Why are we spending so much energy on that shit that we need to let go of? So, welcome back. Let me know if you're here. Go ahead and pop in the chat and say hello. Um, if you're new, I'm Mel Morris with Mel Morris Coaching, and these Wednesday Woos are an opportunity for us to just chat about what's going on in life, chat about new things that are happening. I'm sorry, I've got to turn my fan on. I'm having a little personal summer, so like I said, let me know if you are here. Pop in the chat. So if you didn't get a chance to read my blog this week, make sure you go ahead and check that out. That's over at melmorriscoaching.com. And this week I really talked about, again, this idea of how we're moving, how we're motivating ourselves, or how we're not motivating ourselves to kind of move forward. And so there's three problems that I've seen, three issues that I've seen a lot of folks starting to have when it comes, women especially, starting to have when it comes to making changes. And so the first thing that I mentioned in the blog post is around simply just motivation, right? So part of the problem is that we know that we need to make some changes, right? We know that things aren't going well. We know things need to be different, but we just don't have that motivation. There's not something that is sparking us to want to make that change. And when that happens, what do? How do you find that spark of motivation, right? So I'm going to come back and answer that. But the second thing that I mentioned was this issue of kind of boredom, and not boredom like, oh, I'm too bored to want to change. Boredom in that we get excited, we start that process of changing, of wanting to change. We start doing it, right? And when you get excited, when you get started on something new, and you're like, yes, I'm doing it, it's happening. Look, I lost 5 pounds, I feel better, I'm sleeping well, or this proposal that I put together for this new business, it's starting to happen. And before you know it, suddenly we are like, I've only gotten to 7 pounds, or this isn't happening fast enough. This is harder than I thought it was going to be. And all of those things then, they make it seem less important, right? So we get bored. We get bored with the whole situation. The third thing that I want to mention, and in just a minute I'm going to go close that window because, of course, people now want to take care of their lawns while I'm going live. But the third thing I want to mention is perfection. And so I know myself, several women that I've spoken to recently have all talked about or come to the realization that perfection is really stopping us from moving forward. So just like with the situation with boredom, we get started, we're excited, we have that spectacular energy, we're moving, we're starting to see results. And instead of getting to a point where we're bored with the situation and we're not seeing things fast enough, we start telling ourselves that we don't know enough. Right? We start telling ourselves that it has to be a little bit better, right? Maybe I need to know a little bit more. Maybe I need to take another class or listen to another, guru around what I should be doing so that it's better. And this is that notion of perfection. And oftentimes we don't realize it. I feel like I didn't realize it was an issue of perfection until I really took a step back and I was speaking with friends, I was speaking with other folks in the group. Hi, Sunshine, welcome back. And this is oftentimes where, especially women who are kind of out and they're working and they're used to working hard and we're used to making changes, we're not used to putting ourselves first, right? And so when we're doing work for others, and I definitely found this for myself, in starting this business and moving it forward, that I was a contract worker for a long time. I created, departments in a university. I created statewide, campaigns, but creating something with my name on it was really difficult. And it was because I was telling myself it had to be more. I had to know more. I had to do more. I had to put more pieces into it, and it had to be perfect, essentially. And that's not something that's attainable, right? And I know you've heard this before. This isn't, necessarily new information for people, but we have to be really realistic about identifying that and doing something about it, right? So some of the things that I, mentioned in the blog, if you had a chance to read it, as far as things to do, I'm always going to talk about journaling. I'm always going to talk about, kind of creating opportunities to move ourselves forward through meditations and whatnot. But I'm going to circle back to this idea of connecting with the elements, right? And so one thing I've heard just the last day or two from, a couple people has been, trying to move forward, but realizing that they haven't taken the time to kind of get rid of the shit from the past, right? So think about that. Think about what you haven't let go of yet while you're trying to build something new, right? Think about, if you're in a relationship and it's been past due time to let it go, and you're telling yourself like, oh, I'm moving on, I'm doing all these new things, but you can't. You're finding this blockage because you haven't let go and gone through the process of letting go of what you've already been living in, right? So if you still have an ex, I really am going to go close this window. Talk amongst yourselves. Let me know if you're here. Say hi. Tell me you love me. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Thanks for the for permission. So think about that. Think about, what have I gone through? What have I done or not done, more importantly, to let go of what was happening before? So one thing that you can start with, and again, there's some suggestions in the article, this energy of water, right? Thinking about water as something that is cleansing, that is moving, that is, think about water and think about like how refreshing water can be, right? Thinking of that energy, sitting with that energy, and really moving through, processing through, letting go of that relationship, that self-talk that you've done before that told you weren't good enough, or you had to know more. Sit with that and really find ways to move that through, right? Let that go, move it forward. It's amazing how even if you can get through that process of releasing that old shit, will open up so much energy, so much free space in your mind, in your heart, in your spirit. And it's something I think that, especially as women, we don't do nearly enough. So, the next piece of that is thinking about this grounding yourself in this new space that you're looking for, right? So when you think about like earth energy, right? That's kind of this next piece in the cycle. When you think about grounding yourself, it's more than just doing a meditation or taking deep breaths. Those are amazing things. Those are wonderful things. Those are things that you can do anytime, any place. You can, close your eyes for a second and just kind of focus on where you are, focus on your breathing. Any of those things are wonderful. But the idea of the energy of grounding yourself is really going within and understanding that, like, you're fucking amazing, right? Acknowledging, allowing yourself to acknowledge that, right? Because you can say it and we can laugh and joke, but really saying it and meaning it. Knowing that no matter what else happens in the world today or tomorrow, that at this moment, I'm here, I'm freaking amazing, and I'm taking a moment for myself. Again, even something that simple can be so life-changing in that moment, can get you so focused on what needs to happen as you move forward, right? So I'd love to hear, pop a message in there, especially if you're on the page, and let me know what you think about that. If you've tried either of those two pieces, those are like the first two pieces that are so important to get you set up for success. Okay. If you're watching the replay, also please post a message in there. Let me know what you think, some ways that you've done this, that you've grounded or that you've cleansed before. I'd love to hear about it. So now we've gotten rid of the old stuff, right? And again, that's the water, that's the cleansing, that's that energy. We've gotten to a point now where we're grounding ourselves. We're standing in our fabulousness, right? We know where we are at that moment. It's not about figuring out the future for the rest of your life. It's about right now, right here. I'm here. I'm fully, completely here for myself. Once you go through that, the next phase is that energy of what now, right? Stop asking yourself, well, what if I do this and it doesn't work out? What if I try that thing and it doesn't work out? But what if you try this new thing and it works? What if you want to start this new business and you talk to some people about it and they're interested in what you're doing and they're all interested in being supportive? What about that, right? Don't focus on what could go wrong. Yeah, things could always go wrong, but what if things go right? What if you find that you are completely happy for 5 minutes today? What would that mean to you, right? What if you woke up in the morning and you felt refreshed, you felt alive, you felt energized, even if it was for 5 minutes? How would that feel? Those are the moments, those are the things that I want you to think about, right? So what if, now that you've gotten rid of the old shit, now that you know who you are, you know you're amazing, what if you allowed yourself to be creative and to just explore, right? Those are the questions. That's the energy of air, right? Of allowing ourselves to just be open to our thoughts, to our ideas, right? Again, I'm not talking about, creating a 10-year life plan. I mean, that's amazing, right? But what about tomorrow, right? What can I do today? What if I change one tiny little thing in my life today that would make me a little bit happier tomorrow? Think about that. Like, how amazing would that be? I think personally, doing that for me has been completely life-changing, right? It's changed me from being someone who, gets frustrated that things aren't going as fast or as free as maybe I want them to, or thinking like, oh, I want to do these giant things. I mean, I have a million ideas, right? But there's only 24 hours in a day. I only have so much energy, right? Only so many things can happen. But if I take that step back and just allow myself to dream and be creative and make, short-term plans, that are attainable, that I can say like, oh my God, it's amazing. I can see that happen. How much different would that be, right? So think about that. The last piece of this I'm gonna talk about is this idea of fire energy, right? You guys have been super quiet today. I hope that everything is moving, working, that you can see me. Otherwise, I've just been having this amazing speech all by myself. So pop in, let me know you can hear me okay. Maybe I'm not seeing comments here. I go through kind of a secondary service. So the last energy is fire energy, right? So this is the actual taking action, right? Moving, doing something. I was talking with a good friend of mine who's also my accountability partner, Carrie, and she was talking about how many of us we focus on taking action, and we need to do, but what are we doing, right? We didn't cleanse anything out. We didn't clear out what the old shit. We didn't really ground ourselves and know where we are and why we even want to make a change. We want to do something different. We certainly didn't allow ourselves time to be creative and to dream. So how are we moving? Like, what are we doing? We're just moving for the sake of moving, right? And that's not helpful for any of us. So once you've gone through this process and you've gone through, hey Maria, once we go through that process and we have cleansed things out, we have grounded ourselves, we have been creative and had these ideas, and now we have to do something with it, right? I've been in this camp before where I've come up with like 10,000 amazing ideas, but then I've never done anything with any of them. So what good is that to anyone, right? Fire energy is going to come so naturally. Hey, Candy. Once you get to that point where you've gone through this process, you've set yourself up for success. And now you're moving it forward, right? And it doesn't mean everything. Again, the 10-year plan, yeah, that's cute, that's great. Guess what? It's going to change, right? These folks who tell you like, oh, you've got to make this outline and these things are all going to happen once you lay them out so precisely. That's great. That's a nice roadmap. But guess what? Life happens, and there's going to be barriers that pop up. There's going to be roadblocks that come up. There's going to be detours that you couldn't have foreseen. But it's okay if you have a process, if you have a plan, if you already know who you are, you already know you're fucking fabulous, right? So you hit this roadblock and okay, so this thing happened. Now I need to come over here, right? You're not as deterred. You're not as frustrated. When you do get stuck, you're able to step back and say, oh, you know what? That's just like a little thing. It's okay. It's all good, right? So I wanted to talk, go into those examples a little bit more today about, this idea of connecting with the energy of the elements, to give you kind of a feel of, what I do, what I'll be doing more of. And, it's so important for me to connect with people, which COVID has made it, pretty difficult for that to happen. But when I talk about these cycles, I talk about making these connections, it's, we have to get back to a space where, before COVID, right? Back when we weren't so obsessed with doing 100 things at a time, right? When we weren't telling ourselves daily that we have to do more, we have to do this, we have to do that. This idea of multitasking, right? Really screwed us up. And I get, it comes in ebbs and waves and, just like financial systems, but these conversations that have happened recently around, whether it's COVID, whether it's the upcoming election, don't get me started on that damn debate from yesterday. We have to recognize that, like, why are we so determined to go back, right? What are we going back to? What in your life was so incredibly awesome that you need to, fight to get back to? And that we're saying like, oh, I can't wait, till COVID is gone and we can be back out. Yeah, I mean, everybody wants to be out, everybody wants to be social. I want to see friends, I want to hug people again, of course. But the life that we had before, like, it's never going to be that way again, right? So I hate to be the bearer of bad news here if you haven't figured it out, but we are not going back to what life was like before COVID, right? That's not happening. And that's okay. What have we learned while we've been secluded from people, right? What have we been able to, we've gone through this, these stages of grief, right? Where once you get to the acceptance part, you recognize that it's okay that things didn't turn out the way I would have thought. 2020 did not turn out the way I would have anticipated. I could have never foreseen this. It was difficult. It was frustrating. It continues to be frustrating on many levels. But what can we learn from that? What can we take from what happened, right? And how can we move that forward? Because again, we're never going to be back like it was before, right? So tomorrow is the full moon in Aries, right? Full moons are all about releasing things, finishing things coming to fruition, things ending. We've been talking about harvesting because it's the fall, right? So again, all these cycles, right? I'm always going to come back to these cycles, right? Full moon in Aries. Full moons are about completion, thinking about what we've completed, what things have happened that are over with, whether we completed them or not, right? If you think about, I don't know, if we think about harvesting, let's say, right? If you didn't already start harvesting your crops, right, at some point you get to a space where it's like, oh, well, it's too late now, you've lost them, right? Everything in our life is like that. If you haven't already started the process of closing things up, ending things cleanly, they're going to stop whether you think you've completed it or not, right? So full moon, start thinking about right now, like what is ending for you? What is closing for you? What needs to come to an end? What do you need to button up so that just looking to see if there was a question over here. What do you need to button up right now so that we can prepare for what's next, right? Because after the full moon, then we start moving into this flow of preparing for what's next, right? Things end because other things have to begin, right? So what do you need to end right now through tomorrow, the full moon? What do you need to end so that you can start something new, something better, something that comes from this process you've gone through of cleansing out the old stuff, of recognizing how amazing you are, and then of, taking all that energy, taking all that thought, being creative, and moving it forward. Like what now is coming up in your future that you need to prepare for in order to be ready. Let's let go, of all of these things that are behind us, that need to be behind us, and move forward, right? So, Aries, I'm not an astrologer. I'm super interested in astrology, but I don't have time to learn astrology. But Aries, the first sign in the astrological wheel cycle, right? It's another cycle. It's the beginning of things, right? But full moons, so you can't see my hands. Full moons are about ending. Aries is not just about beginnings, but also like it's the first, right? It's about ourselves, right? We're first, us as people, as individuals. It's a lot about our personal lives. So things that we need to end so that we can begin new things, right? So this is the perfect time to sit, reflect. Again, if you haven't gone to the website and gotten the free meditation there, I hope you do, melmorriscoaching.com. It's a really beautiful, there's a PDF and a meditation, and it walks through a very simple process of using these elements to help you now to start thinking about making that change, right? You may notice that, even though I online and the work that I do, the FEM, the 5 elements of manifesting that I talk about, that there are 5, and I keep talking about these 4 pieces, right? The 5th element to this is about spirit, right? And for me, when I think about this 5th element, it comes from the culmination of using these 4, of getting into this pattern of creating this constant cycle of feeling amazing because you're going through this work, you're doing this work. And then spirit, our higher self, our connection to, more than us, whether it's goddess or God or whatever higher power, connected universe you believe in, connecting to spirit happens once you are a part of that cycle, right? Once you understand that you are living in this cycle, you are an integral piece of moving this cycle continuously through, right? Building yourself, growing, ending things when they need to so that you can begin new things, right? All of that is interconnected. So I'm going to leave it there for today. A couple of things I do want to mention to everyone is that if you haven't joined the WTF group, I'll make sure that there's a link in here for you. Starting in October, which somehow is tomorrow. I don't know how the hell October creeped up on me so quickly, but starting in October, I'm going to be going live, an extra live specifically in the WTF group. And I'm going to be doing some card pulls in there for people interested in answering questions. I'll have kind of a schedule up of days that I'll be in there live. I'm going to be putting resources in there for folks that are interested in, again, learning more about either the elements or change, or just want to connect with other people, other women who are really interested in, finding this kind of new community, starting to focus in this new way and preparing themselves. So I really hope that you join us over there in the WTF group. Again, if you are interested in getting the meditation that I mentioned, go to the website, melmorriscoaching.com. It's right at the top of the screen, or you'll get a pop-up. I'd love for you, if you have any questions about what I talked about today, go ahead and pop them in here. Okay, Janelle, thank you, Janelle. Janelle posted in there the link to the group. And when you, I was just going to say something. I have so many things that I want to tell you all about. So in October, I'm going to be focusing more like each week on a particular element for October. We're going to be adding some fun things in, but most of that's going to happen over in the group. So check us out over there. And I was saying, if you have any questions, so pop questions in here, or send me a message. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to answer any questions. I got some really great questions and comments last week from you, and so I really want us to stay engaged and get more connected. So stay tuned for a lot more happening in October, and thank you for watching. Let me know that you were here, and I will see you next week. Have a great full moon on Thursday, and have a great beginning of October.